Elbone here, and I've got everything you need to know before you watch this weekend's season finale Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, including a recap of this past weekend's highly controversial Qatar Grand Prix. Elbone! Yes, my name is still Elbone instead of J-Bone because I keep taking L's with my bona fide race predictions, but before I get into all that crap, let's talk about the craziness that was the Qatar Grand Prix. First and foremost, 3 extremely rare Formula One penalties were just handed out at the Qatar Grand Prix, and one of them could easily lose McLaren this season's Formula One World Constructors' Championship. The first extremely rare penalty handed out was a one-place grid penalty given to Red Bull's Max Verstappen that took away his Qatar Grand Prix pole position. Max was given this penalty for driving unnecessarily slowly and impeding George Russell during qualifying, and what's crazy about that is that Max and George were both on their outlaps at the time. Usually, a penalty for impeding is 3 grid places and typically only given when the impeding driver is on an in or out lap and the offended driver is on a flying lap. In this case, the stewards deemed that Max's behavior during his out lap impeded George's ability to maximize his flying lap, even though George was also on an out lap. But because neither driver was on a flying lap, they only penalized Max 1 place instead of the usual 3, which uncoincidentally just moved George to pole from P2 and Max vice versa. One-place grid penalties are very rare, with the most recent one I could find being the one-place grid penalty given to Nico Hülkenberg all the way back in 2016. The second extremely rare penalty handed out in Qatar was a mid-race drive-through penalty given to Lewis Hamilton for speeding in the pit lane. Drive-through penalties used to be relatively commonplace back in the early 2000s, but have since fallen out of the stewards' favor and are rarely handed out due to how large of a penalty they are, clocking in at 20-plus seconds. The stewards typically reserve these penalties only for moderate safety issues, of which they deemed Lewis's speeding in the pit lane to be, just like they did in Miami earlier this year when he received the exact same penalty for the exact same infraction, just converted into a 20-second post-race time penalty instead. What makes this instance more rare is that Lewis was forced to serve it during the race, which you rarely see nowadays. The third extremely rare penalty handed out in Qatar that may lose McLaren the World Constructors' Championship was a mid-race 10-second stop-and-go penalty given to Lando Norris for failing to slow during double-waved yellow flags. Because failing to slow for double-waved yellows is one of the biggest safety issues in Formula One, the stewards dropped a hammer on Lando with what is the harshest penalty that they will hand out to a driver aside from a black flag disqualification. This penalty amounts to around a 30-plus second time loss, and because Lando had to serve it around the same time as a safety car, it took him from fighting Max for the race win to last place in the race, and then to an eventual P10 and fastest lap result for him. This was just the second mid-race 10-second stop-and-go penalty served since 2020, and the potential 24 championship point swing it caused resulted in McLaren losing Constructors' Championship ground to Ferrari in Qatar instead of increasing their lead there, which could end with them losing the Constructors' Championship to Ferrari in Abu Dhabi if Ferrari outperformed McLaren there. More on that later. Some additional shenanigans that took place in Qatar are as follows. McLaren went 1-2 in the sprint race and then 3-10 in the Grand Prix, which perfectly summarizes their season. They're capable of big results, but crumble when it matters most. Max Verstappen said he lost all respect for George Russell after seeing how hard George fought to get him the eventual one-place grid penalty that had Max start the race in P2 behind George. Now, Max also is said to have vowed before the race to take back that place from George before turn 1, which he hilariously did in true Max Verstappen deal-with-it fashion. Checo Perez's run of truly mystifying poor form continued in Qatar, where he started the sprint race from the pit lane and then didn't move off the line when the green light came on like you're supposed to. Obviously, it's a green light, resulting in him getting passed by Franco Colapinto at race start, despite Franco starting behind him in the pit lane, which is objectively hilarious and is my pick for overtake of the year. Sauber scored their first points of the season by way of a Zhou Guanyu P8 result, making it so they will not become the first team to score 0 points in a season since the 2021 Haas team. Shout out Mazepin. Williams had another collision-filled, pointsless race weekend to continue their streak of being F1's most beaten-down team that just cannot have both of its cars finish a race right now. Pierre Gasly shocked the world yet again by finishing a remarkable P5 and single-handedly propelling his team back above Haas to P6 in the World Constructors' Championship, despite Haas also finishing in the points in Qatar. And of course, you have Ferrari closing the gap to McLaren in the Constructors' Championship to put themselves well within striking distance of stealing the title from McLaren in Abu Dhabi. More on that later. Before we move on to talking about this weekend's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix though, we need to talk about how my 3 bona fide Qatar Grand Prix race predictions turned out. My first race prediction was that a McLaren driver would win the Qatar Grand Prix. After McLaren went 1-2 in the sprint race, I was already chalking this prediction up as a huge dub for me, as they just looked absolutely incredible there. However, in classic 2024 McLaren fashion, they proceeded to bottle it when it mattered most, with neither McLaren driver finishing the Grand Prix in the top 2, and Max Verstappen taking home the win to ruin my shot at a perfect 3 for 3 with my Qatar predictions. My second prediction was that Fernando Alonso would finish in the points in Qatar, and ding ding, Albon got that one right. Albon! I'll be honest, I got very scared during the race when Alonso was yelling at his team over team radio about how slow his car was on the straight, but Alonso was luckily able to overcome his car and finish well in the points at P7 to make this prediction come true. My third prediction was that the winner of the Qatar sprint race would not win the Grand Prix, and ding ding, Albon also got that one right. Albon! I was really hoping Lando would win the Grand Prix so that my McLaren winner prediction would hit, and so that Lando letting Oscar through at the end of the sprint race would be the reason why this prediction hit, because that would have been hilarious. But unfortunately, that would-be incredible result never came to pass. A respectable 2 for 3 showing here still only puts me at 32 for 69 for the season thus far with my predictions, which, yes, I am fully aware is still below my goal of 50%, so please stop commenting that I am below 50% on the season with my predictions, because I know, guys, okay, seriously, do not go comment anything about that right now. It'll make me very angry, because I will read it. Obviously, I read the comments. I'm going to read it. It's going to make me upset. I might respond to your comment even, so please just do not comment that. It'll make me sad. Instead of commenting, if you want to get my attention regarding how bad my predictions are, how about you toss this video a like instead? That'll really show me. I'm trying to get 2,000 likes on this video. If you could please help me out by liking it right now. Anyways, because I have a ton of ground that I need to make up in order to get to 50% on the season with my bona fide race predictions and make my name no longer L-Bone, because I want to be J-Bone again, I really, really do, I will be making a ton of bonus predictions later this episode for this weekend's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, so stay tuned for that, folks. Speaking of which, it is time to look ahead and talk about this weekend's season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But first, here's a word from my awesome sponsor, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. I love the holidays, but with how busy they are, I am always looking for ways to stress less. I think we all are. HelloFresh helps make mealtime manageable, saving you from searching for recipes or all that grocery shopping that takes forever. Just pick your meals and everything you need is delivered right to your door. It's so easy. There's always something for everyone to enjoy on HelloFresh's weekly menu. With 50 chef-crafted recipes to choose from every week, plus customizable options to make your meals just the way you like them, you'll be able to easily satisfy every craving in your household. Plus, every HelloFresh recipe includes high-quality, sustainably sourced ingredients, like produce that comes fresh from the farm. One of the many reasons I love HelloFresh is because they make cooking so much more accessible and streamlined by removing all that time-consuming shopping, portioning, and recipe discovery from the equation, and I know you will love HelloFresh too. Get 10 free meals, yes, 10 free meals at hellofresh.com/freejbone, applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to hellofresh.com/freejbone. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. 10 free meals. Do it. Go there. The Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix takes place this weekend at the Yas Marina circuit on Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, Persian Gulf, United Arab Emirates, Arabian Peninsula, Middle East, Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Laniakea Supercluster, Universe. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend starts this Friday, December 6th, which will consist of free practices 1 and 2. Saturday, December 7th, will consist of free practice 3 and qualifying, and Sunday, December 8th, will consist of the Grand Prix. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix takes place on the Yas Marina circuit, which is situated on an artificial island off the coast of Abu Dhabi, which itself is situated on a natural island off the coast of the United Arab Emirates. The Yas Marina circuit is 5.281 kilometers or 3.281 miles in length, which is funny that they're both 0.281. And the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will be contested over the course of 58 laps around its 16 turns. Some unique features of this circuit are that the pit exit includes a tunnel that goes beneath the circuit that drivers must drive through in order to re-enter the racetrack. It features the largest permanent sports venue lighting project in the entire world, with around 5,000 light fixtures that are set up so that the circuit can host night races. And the pit straight at Yas Marina circuit is not a DRS straight. It does have 2 DRS straights, and they're interestingly back-to-back, yet have 2 different detection lines. Here's a crazy Abu Dhabi Grand Prix story for you. I call it the most high-stakes race in Formula One history. The 2014 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was the only race in F1 history to award double championship points to drivers and teams. You see, the FIA wanted to experiment with spicing up Formula One's season finale so that it was more dramatic, so it was controversially decided that the final race of the 2014 F1 season, the 2014 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, would award double points to all top 10 finishers. This led to some pretty wild scenarios, such as P1 achieved by Lewis Hamilton, showering him with 2 normal race wins worth of points, Daniel Ricciardo's P4 awarding him just 1 point less than a normal race win would, Jenson Button's P5 giving him more points than a normal P2 finish, and Danny Kvyat suffering a race-ending driveshaft issue on lap 14 that took him from P5 on the starting grid out of the race, resulting in an absurd 20-point swing. Most importantly at the time, if the double point system was not in place for this race, Lewis Hamilton would have only needed to finish in the top 6 to guarantee himself the 2014 World Drivers' Championship over his teammate Nico Rosberg. Because of the double points system, however, he needed to finish in the top 2 to guarantee himself the championship, which he of course did, but it definitely made the race a lot more dramatic. Do you think Formula One should bring back double points races? Let me know in the comments. Here are your storylines to follow for this weekend's 2024 F1 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. First and foremost, get ready because it all comes down to this. After 9 months of intense on and off track drama, the 2024 Formula One World Constructors' Championship will be decided this weekend at the F1 season finale Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. For framing, there's a maximum point differential of 44 points between teams at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix if one team finishes P1 and P2 with the fastest lap and the other finishes outside the points with both their drivers. And with that 44 number in mind, like you're a Lewis Hamilton fan, let's dive into the current constructor standings headed into the F1 season finale. The battle to be named 2024's World Constructors Champion is down to just 2 combatants, McLaren, who currently hold the championship lead, and Ferrari, who trail them. McLaren have a 21-point lead over Ferrari and currently hold the most second places tiebreaker over them, with both teams tied on wins right now, so they obviously have the advantage here, though Lando Norris's 10-second stop-and-go penalty in Qatar did make this pretty close. Ferrari must win the race and outscore McLaren by 21 plus points, or outscore them by 22 plus points if they don't win the race, in order to be crowned 2024's World Constructors Champions. It's a tall order, sure, but Ferrari did recently outscore McLaren by 27 points at the USGP, so it is possible. Interestingly, if Ferrari do end up winning the Constructors by 6 points or less, it will be Oliver Behrman's points in Saudi Arabia that put them over the top. The battle for first place is not the only amazing Constructors battle to watch in Abu Dhabi though, as just 13 points total separate Alpine in P6 from Haas in P7 and from VCarb in P8. These are lower budget teams, and each spot they move up or down is worth around $10 million, so you know that they are all going to be absolutely sending it in Abu Dhabi. I cannot wait to see how this Constructors battle ends, folks. It is going to be good, and you gotta watch. Your second storyline, despite looking like he might win the World Drivers' Championship for much of the season, Lando Norris might not even finish P2 in the World Drivers' Championship. Because Ferrari have come on so strong at the end of the season and McLaren have slowed down a bit, only 8 points separate Lando in P2 from Charles Leclerc in P3 in the World Drivers' Championship headed into the final race of the F1 season. If Lando has a bad race or Leclerc an exceptional one, it could result in Leclerc finishing ahead of Lando in the World Drivers' Championship, which certainly would be a result that does not tell the story of this season if you were to look at it in the future with no context. Also, can you imagine if Lando finishes P3 in the World Drivers' Championship and McLaren do not finish P1 in the World Constructors' Championship? That would be hard to watch. Your third storyline, Alpine F1 team should be ashamed of themselves. Earlier this week, Alpine F1 team announced that Esteban Ocon, the most successful driver in the team's modern history, who earned them their only ever race win back in 2021, as well as some of their most iconic podium finishes, would not get to race in the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix this weekend, denying him a much-deserved Alpine curtain call before his move to Haas for next season. Instead, Alpine are putting Jack Doohan, the rookie F1 driver replacing Ocon at Alpine full-time for next season, in the car early instead. My thoughts? Rude and weird. I get that this experience could be valuable for Jack as he prepares to be Alpine's full-time driver for next season, and that it does slightly benefit Ocon in a way, as he has now been released to drive for Haas in their postseason test as he prepares to be their full-time driver for next season. But here's the deal. 1, Alpine could have let Ocon drive for Haas in the postseason test without releasing him, but they were being weird about it because they're jerks. And 2, this is no way to treat a driver who has brought you your highest highs and stayed with you through your lowest lows. This dude Ocon literally just finished P2 3 races ago, and you're going to drop him with 1 race remaining in the season while you're in the middle of a super close Constructors' Championship battle that could result in a $20 million swing? You serious? You know what? I honestly hope that Alpine finished P8 in the Constructors now, because regardless of your thoughts on Ocon, as he is a bit of a controversial character, we can all agree that Esti Besti deserved better after everything that he has given Alpine. Ocon has even said that the plan all along was for him to finish the season with them, so this is just messed up. Okay, rant over. Wow, I did not know that I liked Ocon so much. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Here are my 10 bona fide race predictions for the 2024 F1 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yes, 10. If you aren't aware, my name is currently L-Bone instead of J-Bone until I stop taking so many L's and am back at or above 50% on the season with my F1 predictions. I'm currently at 32 for 69, aka around 46%, so while I normally would only do 3 predictions here, I'm adding in a ton of bonus ones out of desperation in hopes that a bunch of them hit and I somehow backdoor this 50%. L-Bone! My first race prediction is that a Ferrari driver will win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Ferrari did well in Abu Dhabi last year, and I just feel like they're due for another win. My second race prediction is that Lando Norris will finish the season P2 in the World Drivers' Championship. I think Lando will be able to finish close enough to or ahead of Leclerc in Abu Dhabi so as to not lose his 8-point lead and P2 position in the World Drivers' Championship. My third race prediction is that Lewis Hamilton will finish in the top 5 in his final race for Mercedes. Mercedes ran well in Abu Dhabi last year and many years before that, and while Lewis only has 2 top 5s in the last 7 races, I think he gets one to close out his Mercedes chapter. My fourth race prediction is that Checo Perez will not finish in the top 5 in Abu Dhabi to extend his non-top 5 streak to an absurd 18 Grand Prix in a row. This one needs no explanation. My fifth race prediction is that both Williams cars will finish the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. After 4 straight races with at least 1 DNF and their already meager resources dwindling, surely James Vowles will be able to orchestrate a performance that results in both Williams cars finishing the Grand Prix. My sixth race prediction is that Alpine's Jack Doohan will not finish in the points on debut. Unlike Ollie Behrman before him this season, I think Jack Doohan will not score points on debut, as the Alpine just seems too tricky to drive despite how Pierre Gasly is making it look amazing right now. My seventh race prediction is that Nico Hülkenberg will finish ahead of his teammate Kevin Magnussen in Abu Dhabi. K-Mag just outperformed Hulk in Qatar, but I think the 2 Haas drivers end their Haas careers with Nico finishing ahead of K-Mag, as has so often been the case between them. My eighth race prediction is that Yuki Tsunoda will finish ahead of both Checo Perez and Liam Lawson in Abu Dhabi. People forget Yuki finished P4 in Abu Dhabi in 2021, for good reason, but still. My ninth race prediction is that Aston Martin will finish in the points in Abu Dhabi. They performed well there last year with a double points finish and appear to be trending up here at the tail end of this season. And my 10th race prediction is that Sauber will not finish in the points in Abu Dhabi. Sorry, Joe Toss, but that P8 in Qatar was a fluke. And last but not least, here's my prediction for the top 5 finishers in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with zero reasoning nor explanation. P5 Lewis Hamilton, P4 Charles Leclerc, P3 Max Verstappen, P2 Lando Norris, and P1 Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I said it. Special shout out to my top YouTube channel members: Joe Max's Number 1 Hater Snow, Brian Linton, Wolfslows Racing, Waffleophagus, Melissa Cruz, and David Hake. Mash that join button just below this video to get your name shouted out right here in future videos. Until next time, folks, L-Bone! L-Bone!